Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, we're finally getting some sun down here.
Ah,
It's been
that's really
raining for
nice.
4 days non-stop.
Well, I live in Brisbane, so it's very sunny, but I prefer rain. And today is very cloudy, so it's so beautiful.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
We can swap
And
places.
yeah, love Australia. For everybody who doesn't know Rachel, Rachel Baker is a relationship and intimacy coach, and she has been coaching for a year already. And as well, she has delivered online workshops. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, Rachel. And I I already listened your story, but I have a few questions I want to ask you, which is
Sure.
going to help these beautiful, amazing women who are watching this video. So the first question I have is, why did you decide to become a relationship coach?
So that's a big question because it's got so many different parts to it. But the main reason why I wanted to become a relationship coach was, if I just trace it back to after my divorce, throughout the year while I was doing my healing and kind of working through my own stuff, I really wanted to help other women. So I joined um, uni, well, went back to uni to do my master's of psychology. And halfway through, I discovered coaching. And it was actually done through a family member who dragged me along to a seminar, and it was run by the coaching institute, and it was all about dating. And they brought me thinking that might actually help me, and I sat there watching them do the coaching and being able to get right down to the heart of the issues. And I was like, oh my god, this stuff works. It's cool. They're getting to the heart of the issue quicker than I just spent 2 weeks doing residentials in counseling, and they just like got right to the point. So that was kind of like the educational side of what led me to coaching. To get to the relationship coaching was kind of in my own background, having come out of a quite abusive marriage and having quite a lot of similar experiences with previous relationships before that. I kind of came out, and I distinctively remember the time watching these women kind of give a testimonial of working at the Gatehouse community, which is helping young girls that have been raped or abandoned and things like that. They might be pregnant, and they kind of bring them in, rehabilitate them, love them, and then kind of give them the tools to set them up. And I remember watching that thinking, I want to help I'm going to get all of them. I'm going to get every woman I possibly can get out of abusive relationships. And that was kind of what started my journey into coaching. So, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So, what did or how did you decide to stop your marriage?
Sure. So there was a couple of different, it was kind of like two parts. I feel like every answer to every question today is going to have two parts.
Fine, fine. More information, more valuable. Love it.
There's two things. That things had gotten so bad with my ex-husband and I that I was actually on the phone to my dad that night, and the next morning, I was living in the States at the time, he flew out and physically removed me from that environment. So that was kind of like, I didn't really have a say in, I guess I could have told them, yes, I want to stay, but they just went into full protection mode. And, in my 30s, here they are flying over, taking their daughter out. But then probably about 2 months after we had separated, and I had come back home, just let the dust settle, started to rethink through things. And when you're out of that kind of like toxic environment, you can start to see things a bit better. So after 2 months, I just kind of got to the point of, I don't want this anymore. I can't do this. And there was a lot of things that played into it. And funny enough, when my parents came to get me, I think subconsciously I knew I was done. Because I was packing things, like I was leaving winter in the States and coming to summer, and I packed my UGG boots, and I packed my degrees, and I packed my tax file number. And I don't know why, I just like randomly grabbed this stuff and threw it in like half a suitcase I came home with. And it was things like jackets, and I'm coming to winter and I'm bringing long-term things. So I think I knew in that moment when I was running that it was done.
Mm. And how do you realize that the marriage was not working or you didn't want that? Because a lot of women who came to me, they say, hey, Gisell, I don't want to my marriage fail. So what can I do? What else can I do to make this relationship work?
So for me, I think the realization came because when I first came back, we were going to try and sort things out. I thought maybe we both of us grew up in a very religious environment, and the environment that we were in the States allowed that abuse to happen because they thought it was normal. It was normal for, if a man can't trust his wife, to lock her up in the house because she belongs to him. She's property to him. And they allowed all of that stuff to happen. And so what made me just go, that's it, I'm done, is when we were talking about possibly going somewhere else. He was going to come maybe here, and we were going to try and get some marriage counseling or see a coach or do something to try and fix it outside of that environment. They got involved, and then there was a lot of lies that were coming in. I was just being fed what I wanted to hear. And so that for me was like, you know what? I'm going to choose my happiness because I can't go back to that anymore. That was the turning point for me in realizing that in order for me to make this relationship work, I would need to completely forget myself and give up everything I believed in, everything I wanted to do just to make him happy, because this is what this religious group was going to make him do, because it was all about control. So I knew there was no hope. I mean, sure, there might have been hope, but in that circumstance, I just knew there was no hope.
That happened in narcissistic relationship. There is no hope. But women or codependents, we believe. We have that belief of there is hope. And they have a very case. I wanted to say something else, but I didn't. I know somebody who believes so much in the word family, where she preferred to stay in the toxic relationship with her kids and with her husband, where staying in there, she's teaching the kids it is okay to stay in that kind of relationship.
That's right.
Unconsciously. And for me, it's like, it's so important, the beliefs, it's so important, is do we have hope or are we done? And as well, what do we want? Because some women, they don't know what they want. It's like, I want this, I wanted this, I wanted the marriage, I wanted the family, but now I have it. I'm not happy because of the toxic relationship and dysfunctionality as well. Where it's like, I don't know what I want. How big it is.
It's a big thing, and it's a big when you're super, like I will always be codependent because I'm always going to fight it, right? I strive to be interdependent, but my natural inclination is to fall that way. And it works really well in our jobs because we can understand people at a different level. But leaving that and choosing myself was the hardest decision I ever made.
How long have you been married? How long were you married?
8 years. We'd been married for 8 years.
Whoa! Yeah, tell me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was a big choice, and I didn't have I had support from my family, but they were unsure. They didn't know, none of us had ever gone through this, so they didn't know what to do. And so in some senses I had to face him and then an entire church on my own in saying no. And for a year, it was relentless, abusive emails and messages and calls coming at me. And it was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever made. But the minute I made that decision, the relief was like, oh, thank God. I don't have to do this anymore. So choosing yourself, making that decision of choosing myself was the hardest but the best decision. And it's like life just took off then.
Because you couldn't handle it anymore. It was like a very heavy backpack. With everybody was on it, so you were all the time going down. where it's like,
Yeah.
no. And from there, you didn't know what was going to happen next, like after the marriage. You just say, you already knew what you didn't want it to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
knowing that is like it's uncertain the future, but anyway,
Yeah.
you swim into it.
That's right. 100%.
Amazing, amazing. So did you no, how long took you healing after your marriage, like at your divorce and separation?
So it's really funny because I was thinking about this before. The initial healing of like letting go of all the stuff that I had gone through in the marriage probably only took me about a year to get through. But then as you start here, but it's really funny, again, twofold. It's like you heal through all the stuff to do with the trauma that you're going through in your marriage. But then as you're working through that, you realize that this stuff is all erupting from your childhood.
Oh, yes.
So work that healing. I'm still going through aspects of it, and there's different things that pop up, and it's another layer of healing and another layer of healing. And I don't think we ever stop healing things in our lives, because no matter where we are or further down the track, our ego pops up and loves to remind us of, remember the last time you did this and this happened, and you'll get trampled on, or you'll do this. And so you're always fighting that, or not fighting it, but becoming more aware of it and healing that aspect. But the initial traumatic, working through all the stuff from my marriage and really rewiring my brain, because I had been in a lot of ways brainwashed into believing that, it was more spiritual to consider yourself as nothing but dirt and to let people treat you like crap and to get pushed around because somehow you became a more spiritual person and God somehow loved you more for that. And I had to rewire my brain and rewire my beliefs to believe that that's just not true. And so that process was a big thing. And, even still now things will pop up and I'll be like, that is really unresourceful. I gotta deal with that. But yeah, so the initial thing took about a year and I'm still on the journey of working through my past stuff. Because as you would know, when you don't deal with things in your past, you look for relationships that remind you of toxic relationships you've had as children. So that's really what I did.
Yes, a similar situation happened to me, and so I was like into busy guys, like they were not available for me at all, like no time for me. I was so into that, and after I realized it's because my dad was not present for me in my childhood. He didn't give me quality time, so for that reason I was unconsciously looking for these kind of guys where I was the last priority for them, not priority at all. So yeah, I totally understand about everything from our past. We need to peel the onion, I call it, where we can remove all of those stuff and change, like what you were saying about rewire our brain. That is so important, especially for women who has been in toxic relationships. The guy keeps saying stuff, or for example, one of my clients, she was saying, her ex-partner was saying, no, you are not thinking right. That sentence, like, you are not thinking right, like, who is he to tell you I'm not thinking right,
That's right.
And
Right. They make you doubt your own intuition. They make you doubt your own beliefs. They make you doubt yourself, really.
Yeah, I have to say, tell you things, so those words, they stay stuck in your head. And I had another client who was 40 years in a narcissistic relationship with her husband, where what was doing a new identity, a new belief. She was reading those like only a couple of days, and that's it. And said, "Darling, how long have you been with your narcissistic partner? 40 years. What about if you give it a go for a year to reading these, all of your new beliefs and affirmations? Just give it a go for a year to see what happens. Because to remove his voice, he has become her beliefs. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing. But some women, they don't know. And for that reason, we are here to help them. Have fun.
Right.
Do you consider that your marriage failed?
No, actually. I know in the beginning, yes, I would have gone, absolutely, I failed and I carried all that grief and shame
Mm.
around it because there's
Mm.
so much shame around divorce. I had no idea how many people there are divorced, and we all carry this, not all of us, but there's a large percentage of us that carry that shame of, well, I'm divorced, it failed. But
Mm.
I don't consider it as a failure. I consider it more in the space of, it was a learning experience for me. Life, I take the motto that there's no such thing as failure. It's just feedback.
Mm.
And so my marriage, those 8 years or 10 years all up that we were together, was feedback on where I was, and it was reflecting the relationship I had with myself outside. Had
Mm.
I not gone through that, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's a learning experience. It's feedback. It has become the very thing that has spurred me on to do what I do now. And it was the thing that made me change. It had its, and in all, if I was just to be completely open and honest, it had its good parts and it had its negative parts. And it taught me a lot about who I am as a person. And yeah, so.
That is so important when we look back and we rescue a few things. And as well is, in my case, I am grateful of my ex, and I did a post about it. And if we look back and we see the gratitude, what we have learned from that experience, and to go through all of the pain and suffering, and yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that, just to add to it, the thing is that when I left, I saw it as a failure because I had that victim mindset. I blamed him for everything. I don't have to take responsibility for my own shortcomings, for allowing the things to happen, for not saying no. Whether or not I believed I had the ability to do it, if I lay that aside, the reality is that I wasn't innocent. I'm not perfect. And he could be incredible, and he was incredibly narcissistic. But if I had said no, I wouldn't have been in this space. But I was getting something out of it in the end as well, And so taking the responsibility for my own happiness and my own life meant that I had to look back at that and go, well, I'm responsible for some of the things that have happened in that marriage because of me, and taking the responsibility. Because if I played the victim and just was like, it was all his fault, that's not going to change my life, because I'm going to consistently be looking for someone else to save me, or consistently be looking for environments where I can be the victim, because I'm not going to take the ownership. And until I took the ownership, that's when my life really changed.
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. And how long after your divorce, how long took you to date again?
So when I was very much of I needed to be in a relationship to feel like I had any worth. Being on my own was the scariest thing ever. So when I left the relationship and things, when I really think about it, I had checked out of that marriage 8 months before it had finished. I was just going through the motions, basically just empty, walking through, doing what I needed to do, because I was in complete and utter survival mode. So within that first year that the divorce had happened and I was trying to process things, I had gone out on a couple of dates, and I just, at the end of it, realized I just wasn't ready. So it took me about 1.5 years really before I was willing to go, okay, let's see if this could possibly work. And when I look back now, I sit there and I think that the fear of being alone, and I was like, I'm in my 30s, I'm getting old, no one's going to want an old woman divorced person. That was just my mentality.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you get into this mode, you're just like, I'm running out of time, I've only got 10 more years before I can have a kid, I've got to get on this. And so I had tried to work through some of that stuff, and I got back in the dating probably with a little bit of that still in my mind, but it took me about 1.5 years before I really just started putting the feelers out there to go, all right, I think I'm ready. If I meet someone, I meet someone. If I don't, whatever.
Did you, when you started dating, did you have the fears like, oh, I don't want another narcissistic or?
Yes, I was over analyzing everything. Like he'd say things like, let's go to this place for dinner. And I'm like, is he telling me what to do? Am I listening? Am I following? And I've been analyzing everything going, am I being codependent in this thing? And then at the end of it, I remember talking to my coach. She's like, perhaps he was just giving an idea of what he wanted to do. And I was like, oh, okay.
You're back there. I want to know what he's doing.
Just a big, like, gotta focus that through. Like, was that tone too harsh? Was that tone too soft? Is he manipulating me? Like, I was over analyzing everything because I was so scared I was going to have the same experience.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. So are you in a relationship now?
I am, yes.
Yay! For how long have you been
We've
in that
been
relationship?
together just on a year. Yeah.
And a year, that's amazing. That's really good. And what makes your current partner different from your ex-husband?
So I would have to say the biggest difference is me. Because I'm not the same girl that, I was in that relationship. I'm not the same girl that met my ex-husband 10 years ago, desperate for affection, desperate to be loved, wanting someone to tell me that I was worth something. I'm a different person, so I've attracted a different man. And the biggest difference really in all of it is that this relationship is safe. Not just like physically safe, but there's a security there that I can be completely raw and there's no judgment. There's no criticism. It's just a beautiful, safe place. And there's acceptance and understanding. And sure, he pushes me sometimes and he'll tell me that he doesn't like a particular behavior, and that's great. But there's never any change this or you suffer. It's I'm really uncomfortable with how you're behaving. Can we work on this together? So it's just a beautiful, accepting, loving place. And yeah, he's a real sweetheart.
That's really nice. Is your partner has feminine energy or masculine energy?
Probably a little bit. He's really, really hard to pick. He's a very masculine man, but he's very, very. He's got a very strong intuition in the sense of he can pick from. I'll have a random thought that'll pass through my head, and it might just give me a little bit of concern, and he'll pick it up. What's wrong? What are you thinking? Where's your mind gone? So, yeah.
I can imagine he has already maybe dysfunctional relationship as well.
Yeah, in the past he has. Yeah.
Because we what we are talking about is like what we have experienced, we improve, we change. That help us to become the next version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And especially in a relationship is really, really good about we suffer in the past relationships. So here we are not able to suffer anymore. And I am here for my partner and I want my partner to be there for me too. And like your partner does, it's like hey, what happened there? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
It's really, really nice, really beautiful.
Yeah. I'm very happy. He's very lovely.
I see you're like a radiant, like a flirt.
Yeah, here you go. I'll show you. This is a little photo of the two of us.
Yeah, really nice. I love it. Oh, love it. Yeah, I have the last question. So where are you now? Where are you at?
So in what area?
In yourself, with your partner, and in business.
So it's been an incredible journey in these last 3 years. I think I'm in my third year now since being back. it was tough. It was really, really tough. And so now, in the sense of my own personal growth, I've been really moving into, I guess you could say, just understand, like learning to listen to my body so much more, because I've been realizing that your body stores everything.
Yes.
Everything. So I'm learning to listen. My biggest thing right now is learning to listen to my body, even just with food, but also with, it's going to tell me when I'm in situations that I'm not comfortable. Learning to speak up, using my voice has been one of the biggest challenges for me. And even in my current relationship, it has been something that has caused not issues between the two of us, but in some senses issues where he's been like, just tell me what you want. Stop hiding it. I want to know what you want. But all this programming of nobody gives a shit about what you say keeps running through my head. And so that has been the biggest challenge for me, learning to speak up and just learning to use your voice. In everything, in simple things like, I don't want to go there, or I would really like this, or can someone please clean the kitchen for me because I don't want to do it. Things that I never would have said, I would have nagged to try and get it. Now I'm just learning to use my voice, own what I need, really work down into, okay, I'm getting upset. Well, why am I upset? And sometimes the thing is as simple as, I'm just tired and I need to take a nap. And so I'm just getting irritated at everybody. So learning to just really get down to, what do I actually need, or what do I really want, and give myself that. In our relationship, we're just doing really good, just plodding along. Yeah, it's wonderful. And business-wise, I've kind of shifted a little bit from dealing with narcissistic relationships and moving more into helping women. Obviously, I'm going to put a disclaimer out here. Different relationships require different things. And so obviously, if you're like in a physically environment place or an abusive place, there are things for you to do to protect yourself, and addictions and all of that put in together. But now I've kind of moved into a place to helping women use their voice in their relationships. And sometimes I wonder, if I knew what I knew now, I wonder what my marriage could have been like, if I wasn't adding fuel to his already issues, because, he's narcissistic. He's got his own traumas that he needs to work through, which is why he is the way he is. If I had not been that nagging wife, or doing the manipulator, which I am not ashamed to say, I manipulated to try and get what I wanted. It was very much that codependent manipulator. I knew I couldn't speak out, so I tried other ways to get it. I wonder what it would have been like. Wondering is, whatever, it is what it is. I don't regret anything. But helping women, really, what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, is I've moved into a space of helping women use their voice in their relationships so that they can heal them. I've become more and more, we are essentially the bringer of life. I mean, our entire anatomy is that way. And if we can bring life into this world, then we can also bring life into our relationships. And so just really helping women use their voice, empowering them to use their voice, because we have the ability, if we want, to heal our relationships. So
Amazing. So how people can find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, Rachael Lou. It's Lou is half of my middle name, Rachael Lou. Or you can find me on Instagram, which is Rachael Lou Coaching as well.
Okay, I will write that in the description below. So like that.
I do have an email address, which is just rachellou.com.
Okay.
I'm there as well.
Okay. I will put it as well then.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much, Rachel, for all of this information, which is so valuable for a lot of women. I'm learning as well from you, because I love learning. And it's amazing how you, where you were and where you are now, and how beautiful, I can see you're beautiful, like a natural beauty.
Oh,
I wanted to say. So good on you that you have changed, you move out from that relationship, from that toxic relationship, and now you are in a beautiful and loving relationship. That is amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Great. So see ya, Rachel, and see ya, all of those women. And let me know if you want Rachel again. Write it in the comments below. Bye.